the Comic DM.
What is up, besties? It is your girl, the Karmic DF, back to you again with another video. This time we are going to dive into why do we settle for less than we deserve? Why do we date people that treat us like crap and we make excuses for it? And why do we not aim higher? Also, that's my dog Stella, who's pouting in the background per usual. That's Pisces energy for you. So anyway, if you enjoyed these videos, please give it a like. It really does help my page. Comment down below what you want to see in future videos and what you would need help with. Hit the subscribe button. And as always, let's get into it. Now, I apologize if this is distracting. I'm puppy sitting right now. So basically, what we want to look at is not only why do we settle for it, right? But we want to dive into the subconscious mind in terms of like, how did we get here? How do we keep making excuses for people that don't appreciate us, right? For people that just kind of want to hurt us, basically. And what we need to first realize is that we would not be making excuses for these people if we didn't have something lacking within ourselves. Because if we truly love ourselves, then just like we expect the best for the people we love, we would expect the same for ourselves. And so to start this off, it really boils down to where in our past did we feel like we weren't good enough? Where in our past did we feel like we had to prove ourselves? Or basically just where in our past did someone let us down so that we then believed that love was more of a transactional thing instead of it being just an unconditional thing where we just share love and share moments and appreciate one another. Now we live in this society that is bred to basically, thank you, Spirit. I'm hearing like, what can you do for me? Basically is the energy of a lot of people these days. And the reason, if we want to get a little bit psychological about this, is simply because we all have these similar wounds and we've all been taught prior to the past few years to stay in our masculine energy. Don't show your emotion. That's weakness, right? We have men that are taught early on that your worth is directly correlated with how much money you make. And so if men don't feel good because they don't feel good about their money, they won't show up as their best selves in a relationship. And so we need to look at the dynamics of our history in order to figure out why we've allowed bad behavior and why we've made excuses when our gut is telling us that we deserve better than this. We deserve better than this person that we've been on again, off again for a couple of years that have been giving us scraps when we know that we are worth getting the whole meal. You know what I'm saying? And so to be really honest, if you are dating someone who disrespects you, it's because your subconscious mind is seeking the validation that you didn't get from your parents in childhood. You will naturally be repelled from healthy love. That's because it's foreign to you. And your inner child wants to prove itself because your comfort lies in the chaos. So basically, you're trying to find your parent in all of your partners so that you can validate to your inner child and to yourself that you were always worthy and that you did in fact deserve more. But the problem with that is you're reenacting your childhood with people that have the same energetic frequency of your parents, and so they will never show up for you, just like your parents couldn't show up for you. You are finding people with the same exact wounds, and so you're going to consistently repeat it because energetically, on an intuitive level, your body is searching for what it knows, its comfort zone. Its comfort zone, again, is in the chaos. And so if you're used to chaos, for instance, again, if somehow my family or family friends see this, I'm not dragging my parents. I love my parents. They did the best they could with what they had. That being said, you know, my mom had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. And my dad was never around and he was kind of a playboy. And they were both kids having a kid. And so my mom couldn't show up for me the way that I needed her to. And my dad was a kid who was trying to be a playboy. And so he couldn't show up for me the way that he needed to. And so until I realized just what I'm telling you now, I was searching for people to prove that I was in fact worthy because I wasn't getting the validation that I needed at home because my parents couldn't show up the way that a child needs their parents to show up. Does that mean that they're inherently evil people? No, we're not going to go there. And I told you, the moment you put blame on other people. It's you taking your power and giving it to them. And so we don't want to do that, right? We want to bring it back to ourselves. So regardless of what my history is with my parents, that's not the concern here. The concern is seeing the patterns in a broader scale so that we can stop it and understand why we behave the way that we do. And so because I had a mom that had to work from morning to night, she wasn't there to tell me that I deserved unconditional love, and she wasn't there to model it to me. And because she was a child and my father was a child, they both didn't understand unconditional love, and so they modeled unhealthy love. And so because I saw that dynamic play out, I was destined to do the same thing. Doesn't that make sense now? Here's an example so that I'm going to embarrass myself for a second because I don't love this, but it'll help you begin to understand kind of like, oh crap. And then maybe you'll be able to do your self-reflection on previous relationships moving forward so that you don't repeat it yourself. My throat's already blocking. What's that? I don't like telling this story. But anyway, okay. Yeah, well, it's embarrassing, but it is what it is. So I had a fiance, right, that I was on again, off again for like, I don't know, 4 years, maybe even 5. I don't know. We met at a bar, obviously already just destined for greatness, right? Yeah, no. But he would cheat on me with my friends. His phone always died at night. God, this is so embarrassing. He smelled like my dad. And mind you, I didn't notice any of the parallels until I actually started doing work on myself. So it'll give you the cringe once you really go, oh, wow, okay, I see it now. But like down to the body type, this man was so similar to my dad as a young man. And so they even wore the same hats. I shit you not. It's so gross to look back at it now. But again, it's like, and this is why if you're a parent, it's incredibly important to get rid of this whole notation that you should stay together for the kids. The kids pick up on this. Like I've said in multiple videos, the first 7 years of your life are so important because you are in a hypnotic state. And so the world around you is your reality, and that's going to solidify. And so because I watched the play out of my mother accepting less than she deserved, I therefore was reenacting what she did. And not only that, because my father had shut down his emotions for the most part as a child early on because of his trauma through his parents. We're not going to go there and tell his story. But what I did was I was chasing my father. I mean, you end up kind of chasing both parents. If both parents are emotionally avoidant, I could get into that, but it's complicated. I don't want to do that right now. But I was chasing my father. And so I'm dating this guy that had absolutely no time for me, similar to my dad when he was young. My dad was a playboy. This guy, playboy. My dad, he smelled just like him. Cigarettes, cologne, and a little bit of sweat. Like it just, I remember it clear as day. And back when I was dating this guy, I thought that that was comforting. Like I remember saying that. I was like, oh, you smell so good. And my brain went, he kind of smells like my dad. But then I pushed it away. I was like, that's gross. No. But in reality, what I was doing was I was dating someone who was almost exactly like my father, and I was trying to prove my worth to this guy that had no ability to love me at all because he didn't love himself. And if you don't love yourself, then you really can't give yourself to somebody else. And so that is how we end up reenacting this dynamic over and over again, where we are chasing the validation of our parents through our relationships. And if that gives you the cringe, and if that makes you want to vomit, knowing that, hey, you might actually just be trying to date your parents if you really think about it, then maybe that'll be the push you need to stop settling for less than you deserve, because that is what you are doing. This guy was a perfect example of my dad, and I spent on again, off again for years trying to make him see my light, try to make him see my worth, trying to make excuses for his behavior. He's emotionally avoidant. How do I fix him? I dove into his childhood. I told him that he was valid. I made him feel better for the trauma that his parents put him through. And that is how I have always been. I have always been the one that's been the giver, that's been overdoing it. Because again, when you have parents that can't show up for you and you can't do anything about it, like most psychologists say, When you can't get unconditional love from your parents, you settle for being needed instead. When we can be honest with ourselves and realize that we are settling for being needed instead of loved, and realizing that there is a difference because unconditional love is a real thing. I mean, chances are if you're watching my videos, you probably overgive love. So you are a great example of unconditional love. So if you can do it, why can't others? And the reality is, we need to stop searching for our parents and other people. And in order to do that, we have to be honest about where we were let down so that we can nurture ourselves back to health, back to what our parents couldn't give to us, so that we stop repeating this pattern in looking for our parents, in looking to validate ourselves through other people. Because let's say, best case scenario, right? I put in a couple more years with that guy and somehow the lights turned on and he suddenly realized my worth, right? In reality, I would then realize that it's not what I want anymore. And here's the side note of this, by the way, when you don't do the work, you will be repelled by healthy love, because healthy love is so foreign to you that you're going to be looking for things that aren't there. And that's why a lot of times when we hear that whole, you need to love yourself first, you need to be alone first, and we do the whole eye roll thing, I totally get it. But if you don't do that work, then you are destined to keep repeating these karmic relationships where they're teaching you about yourself instead of just pouring into you. Because if you don't know what unconditional love looks like, how do you expect to receive it from others? If you can't give it to yourself, then you definitely can't give it to other people, or you over give it to people, and then there's the resentment because you've been over giving. Do you see how all of these kind of play out? It's all going back to, what can this tell me about myself? Which is a video I want to focus on, where you can use that to master your entire life, is that one sentence. What is this telling me about myself? And we have to realize that in order to get unconditional love, in order to get healthy relationships that are the goal, right? The reason us chicks watch rom-coms, you know what I mean? The only way to really get that is to model that behavior to yourself first. Because again, going back to your childhood, or maybe, I mean, we're not shitting on all parents here, but let's be honest. In the political climate we have, socioeconomical, all of it, all of our parents were destined to fail us to some extent. So it's not about placing blame. We can't be doing that right now. We have to be focusing on, where did they lack? Where can I fill in that hole that I now feel within me, so that I can better show up for myself, so that moving forward, I know who is just there to kind of teach me a lesson that I no longer need to learn. And then that way I can be open to unconditional love, because I know what it looks like, because I've given it to myself. If your parents didn't teach you how to love yourself unconditionally because they didn't have time, whatever, how would you expect to know what that looks like, let alone be able to model it to yourself? So you have this war within yourself, within your mind, that you're not enough, because no one's ever told you that you were wrong in thinking that. No one's ever modeled to you or pushed to you that you are destined for greatness, that you deserve unconditional love. If your parents settle for less than they deserve, then of course you are going to settle for less than you deserve, because that is your reality. That is all you know to be true. And so similar to, you know, friends that give unsolicited advice where it's like, I have this dream, and they're like, that's not realistic. They're coming from their own flawed perceptions of reality. And that's kind of why we as a society hold ourselves back. We don't have people in our corner going, you can do the thing. Your dreams aren't unrealistic. Your need for unconditional, healthy love isn't unrealistic. You haven't been told that. You've been told to stay safe. You've been told to stay small. You've been taught that relationships aren't safe, to have your walls up, to watch your back. You've been taught throughout experience that that's true. And so because your mind, which is just a computer program, is now absorbing all of that information, then of course you're going to have a hard time understanding that true love does exist. But in fact, in order to receive true love, you've got to look to the past and clear up that faulty perception that created the reality in which you live in today. So how do we get unconditional love? How do we get the romance of a lifetime? How do we get these things that we dream about that we stopped believing in, we have to reprogram our mind to realize that most of what we believed were really just coping mechanisms. They were maladaptive coping mechanisms. They were ways to keep you safe that are actually now hindering your growth. What once was, let's not dream big because we don't want to be let down, is now becoming, I know it's real. I might have to wait a bit longer. I might have to work a little bit harder. I might have to just be comfortable and complacent in waiting, but it will come to me when it's ready to come to me, because in this moment, I'm choosing myself. In this moment, I'm choosing that what I've been taught is not going to be my reality moving forward. And I don't want to chase my parents' validation and love anymore. And just because they didn't show up for me doesn't mean that they couldn't love me. It's just that they loved me in the only way they knew how. And we're not going to villainize them. I mean, go back to the video about healing from childhood trauma before you, because you should villainize them for yourself. But putting blame on other people only takes power away from us, and we don't want to do that. We need to do that to release our emotions and validate ourselves, but we can't do that for the rest of our lives, because that's when we hold ourselves back. How many times have you seen people in your life that are 50 plus that are still making excuses for things that happened to them decades ago, right? I can never get the dream job. I'm too old. I can't go to school. There's not enough time. If you want something bad enough, you can get it. Anything that you want bad enough that's in your heart, that's because it's meant to be there. That's because you know that it's possible. But are you going to let a fragmented mind that's built on a reality system that you don't align with because you know that there's more to life, don't let that hold you back. Don't let what other people have to say, their perception of reality, hold you back. Do you understand how many people have told me that I dream too much, I'm too much of a romantic, my dreams are too big, there's no way I was going to be anything in terms of an entrepreneur and helping people? I have been told no in every facet of my life, my entire frickin' life. I've always been taught to play it small. And that's coming from people that have had their own traumas that are projecting it onto me in the guise of safety and protection, when in reality, that's trauma. And we need to release that trauma in order to have a shot at a healthy and fulfilling life, instead of chasing these never-ending dreams of bare minimum, and then we're miserable, and then we take it out on other people, and then we don't have healthy connections, and then you rinse, wash, repeat. We need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to be mindful about what is going on in our minds, and do we agree with that? And if we don't, what work and what steps are we going to take to stop that narrative from playing out? If you don't want to settle for the guy that cheats on you, the guy that can't answer your phone, or woman, if you're into women, I'm bi, I get it. Mostly women talk to me here, okay? But if you're settling for less than you deserve, then yeah, you are going to continue to attract that because you believe that's all you can get. But if you go, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with what society is saying. I believe that there's true love. It's in my heart. It's what I'm searching for. Then stop settling for people that you keep making excuses for. Go within and ask yourself, why am I allowing myself to date somebody that's willing to cheat on me? Why am I allowing myself to say yes to someone who is very clearly not ready to be in a relationship and is telling me that they don't want to be in a relationship? Why am I giving wifey, husband energy to someone who can't even tell me how they're feeling? Why? Ask the bigger questions, and you will figure out that there is a pattern here, and you are fully capable of breaking it, choosing yourself, and getting better relationships in all facets, not even just love, but in friendships too. When I realized that my friendship circles were toxic, and I cut them all out, and I learned how to be comfortable with being alone and with being on my own and being my own parent, spouse, best friend, like I've been saying in multiple videos, that's when healthier people started showing up in my life, because I told the universe that I didn't want anything less than what I give to other people. I'm a giver. I love with my whole heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I was settling for scraps because that was all I had ever known. And if that's all you have ever known, then it's time for you to validate to yourself that love exists, because you have been it this whole time. You've been what you are looking for. And the moment that you can give that back to yourself, is the moment that you will start to attract people that want to give you that energy back. If you're the type that's cruel to yourself on a daily basis, I'm not enough, I can never do this, I can never be that, I don't deserve, then your reality is going to mirror that to you until you decide enough is enough. I choose me. I choose my best reality. I choose to take those leaps of faith and to believe in more than what everybody else is telling me to be true. And watch your reality shift, because you've been in control this whole time. You've been in control of having these toxic relationships, and now you can shift the narrative to be in control of something that actually pleases you. But it starts and ends with you taking a look at the past so that you don't make it your present and your future. It's all about deciding that I come first, I deserve what it is that I want, and I'm going to go after it no matter what anybody else is telling me. And so long as I'm honest with myself, and as these triggers come up, I look at it, I find out where it's coming from, I heal it, I continue to move forward, then the people that you are going to attract in your life are going to get better and better than you've ever expected. The types of people that I attract now wouldn't ever be toxic. I am attracting healthy love. I am attracting healthy friendships, because I will be damned if I ever tolerate the shit that I used to tolerate. And that's where you need to get. That's where you need to believe in yourself. I demand the best. I am a boss ass bitch, boy, whatever. And I refuse to settle. And I'm going to do the work and look at what's been hindering me so that I don't let it control me and shackle me down anymore. And that is how you stop attracting unhealthy relationships. And that is how you stop making excuses for piss poor behavior and for people that don't appreciate your worth. And you will never go backwards when you decide that you are enough and that you deserve more than you've been settling for. It really is that simple. It takes practice. It takes courage to be honest with yourself. But the moment that you do the work is the moment that you will start to see it play out in your everyday life, your reality. The toxic people, they're going to be more timid. They won't want to be around you anymore, because they're going to know, they're going to sense that energy that you are not down for games. You're going to give off that come correct or don't come at all energy. And once you adopt that system, your whole life is going to change. Everything around you is going to change, and you're going to be grateful that you did the work. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know that was a little heavy, but I promise you that if you realize your own worth first, you're going to get other people that realize it too. And they're not going to take advantage of it, because you know how sacred you are as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you need any help with this, let me know down in the comments. If you made it to the end of this video, give me a little red heart to let me know that you're ready to choose yourself. And as I said in the beginning, if you like this video, please leave it a like. It does help my channel. Subscribe and hit that notification bell for future videos. Let me know what you guys want in future videos down in the comments so that I can help you guys. And as always, love you besties. You got this. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.